Joanne, I am so excited to be chatting with you today. It's been a little while. I know you've been doing a lot of inner work. I've got all my notes here from everything that you've sent me. And there are just some beautiful things that you told me. So if I'm glancing over here, that's what I'm doing. But I know I started asking you about your why and why you started a business, why you got into this. And what was funny is I relate it to so many of your answers. And it's interesting how your why can evolve and change. And I know you told me that started out like me where you didn't want to be in the 9 to 5. You didn't want to be doing that normal routine. And then it turned into, you wanted to have the opportunity to live up to your full potential. And then it started to morph into something even more beautiful. I'm reading your words here, where you could have growth and make a difference in others' lives. Do you want to talk a little bit about that process?
Yeah. I don't think I ever thought of myself as someone who wanted to be an entrepreneur when I was younger or anything. I think I always wanted to be a writer. That was always there. And I guess that is kind of being an entrepreneur. I didn't think of it in those terms. I just thought, I'm not really made for 9 to 5. I didn't like it. And so I did things like be a nanny for a while and stuff like that, where I was get to be outside and get to do stuff, different, not sitting in a cubicle. I did that. After that, I did cubicle stuff for about 8.5 years, and that was more than enough for me. The universe kind of pushed me out of it because the company was bought out. And so I started writing, and then when my husband got sick, it was sort of like, I want to live my life the way I want to live it. I don't want to be tied to someone else's dream, tied to someone else's time, so it just became something that could allow me to do that and allow me to do what I wanted to do. And then finally, as I got more into it, I really did like helping people. And I really wanted to be, a force for change. I wanted to live in a world that was kinder, gentler. So I kind of sort of by example, I wanted to live a certain way and also to teach people.
Yeah.
In whatever way I could.
That's so lovely. There are a few things that you're saying that I can absolutely relate to. And I think that's what makes the difference between just being an entrepreneur and, an innovator for change, really, which is, kind of what you are and what I am and what a lot of us ladies are. You said you didn't want to be tied to somebody else's dream. You want to be a force for change. You have so many quotables here. But that's so big because that's what makes you, into a leader. You're starting your own movement of sorts. And, I know you said it's still materializing, which is perfectly okay because it's a process, but you're taking steps to doing something different. And so many of us are so scared to do that. So that's just a testament to your bravery there. I want to jump back to, because I know you told me so many good things. So I want to make sure to hit on all these points here that you talked about. I know that I also asked you about if you ever felt like you were moving away from that feeling. And then I started relating to everything you were telling me about how business started changing, and how you started off in one direction, then started morphing. And do you want to tell me a little bit about that too?
Sure. And no one tells you it's a process. That it evolves. You see people being successful and you think they just start that way. And I like that you shared your story, and there's some other people starting to share their story, and so new people coming in aren't necessarily going to be like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I do this? And so it has, I have training in Science Mind. I'm a practitioner in that, priestess, and I have all this training, and I always wanted to do something with it. I just wasn't sure what.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw people, coaches, and I thought, well, maybe I'll go in that direction. But what I do is a little different. I mean, there's a lot of similarities, but so it sort of like started following certain groups and certain people who were doing this and showing people how to do this. And a lot of it was the traditional set up an email list, start a website, do all of those things. And which, if you don't know exactly what you're doing at first, you can spend a whole shitload of money on on it. And so I'm glad I didn't, and I didn't really have the funds at the time to do that. So I just did, do it yourself stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad I did, because it changed and it changed, and the thing is, it's fine, because I only knew where the next step was going if I took the first step.
Yes.
It was only by doing it that I was going to learn anyway. So it's just, they don't usually tell you. They haven't told you. That's how it works.
Absolutely. I 1,000% agree with you. And I know in our group, just over the past year, there's been a lot of women who have felt the same way, and you've met them. And just your story reminds me a lot of Dora's story too, a little bit, because I think we all kind of, for all of us who function in this way, I think we all have the set intention of what we want to be doing and feeling at the beginning, and then we veer off course because no one else is doing that. And you said it so beautifully. It was like, I want to quote you, where you were talking about. I think you mentioned it was like, everybody else is talking about this. They think it's this pipe dream, and that your loved ones, are moving away from that. And, there's a sense that people are not believing that you can do it in your own way anymore, and you brought that up. Mm-hmm.
And they do. I think it's because it keeps changing.
Yes.
And so they think, well, that didn't work, and that went, like, when are you ever going to make this work?
Mm-hmm.
And I know it can take, a few years to get, a business where it's, successful. I mean, some people can do it faster, but I mean, it's not impossible, but, and it takes time just because it's you and you're evolving. So.
Yeah. And that's the thing, it's like we're wired differently, and that can be so easy for us to get off of the path to why we got into this in the first place, because there are others who aren't supporting us, because everybody else is doing it differently. And that brings up, and it was why I was thinking about Dora too, because it's like you have to move forward and see it's not working in order to go back. And, almost when I think of you, it's like, I think of myself in the process, I feel like I'm going in a cocoon almost. It's like I have to go into a shell and start to heal and go on that journey and trust my intuition, the authentic self. I know you touched upon some of that. Do you want to expand on that some more?
Yeah. Well, I had personally started a healing, conscious healing process last November.
Yeah.
About the same time as I was going into this. And it's been, I mean, when you run your own business, it's totally a spiritual practice, because you totally see everything about yourself that isn't working reflected everywhere. And
absolutely.
And if you're not ready for that, that can be shocking. But I kind of understood from my spiritual training that might be how it, and that's how it was showing up. And I guess I'm losing track of what I'm saying now, but
no, that's the process. You talk about the healing process, and you mentioned you had to go back.
Yeah. I had to step away from, kind of like you said with yourself. You just got to get away from all of the noise. I mean, and even when you step back from all of the stuff online, it's like there's still so much noise in your head. Like, I should do this, I should do that, and it takes a while to kind of disengage from everything else and all the voices and find your own voice.
Yes.
And you're really helpful in that because you really focused on story, our stories, and that was helpful in bringing me back.
Yeah, I was touched and honored by what you said, and I appreciate that. Because it's just, and it helps to also get feedback, and to understand what you're bringing to the table. So you said that I listened, and how is that helpful?
Well, like we were saying earlier, when everyone else around you is like, "Are you crazy? Is this ever going to work? Why are you doing this?" When someone actually takes you seriously and has been there, which is, a big part of your teaching, it does help. That's healing alone, really, just to have someone listen.
Oh yeah, it's that space, right, where you feel safe to be heard.
Yeah.
I know that you mentioned, because I know when we were working together, you had started a group too, and I know you mentioned when you talked to me that you had people coming in, and it was like, okay, but there's not really engagement going on, and then you had this feeling like, okay, am I supposed to keep doing this or start to change, how I'm feeling about this?
Yeah, it was like that group, that incarnation of the business was like a piece of the puzzle. It's like, working with you got me to closer and closer, but that wasn't quite it. It was like I still jumped too fast, which I have a tendency to do. But it was fine. It was another learning experience, and the people were not engaging like at all. And I kind of went, well, I was working with a bunch of introverts. And though now I have a new group and there's a lot more engagement, and some of them are introverts, but it's different. Obviously, it's something closer to my heart and what I want to do. So
I was so glad when you mentioned that, because I was like, okay, there's, a little bit more people in here, but the big thing is that there's engagement. And I always find that comes when you are, fully aligned with yourself and you feel on track and in tune with the direction you're going on. So I know you mentioned that that's how you're feeling now, right?
Yeah. I'm on the right track. I'm on the right path. It's still evolving.
Yes.
I'm doing this part of it. See, I had two components to me in terms of how I could work. It was like either the science mind practitioner or more even more spiritual to me, reading the cards, being the priestess kind of side. So, and I think I really just want to be the priestess kind of side. When I was trying to do the science and mind stuff and I talked to people, I felt like I got tangled up. And doing the cards, I don't. So it's just finding what works for you. Ultimately, you just have to try a lot of things sometimes.
Exactly. It's so interesting. You're right. It's a process. I still feel like I'm on a journey, and I may have 90% of the puzzle completed, but it's still not done. And you're right. When I think about it, it's almost like stripping away of just everything that's not you and that's not working, so you can find who you just have been this whole time and bring that to the forefront. And it's amazing, because that's how you start to connect with your why. And you said you want it to grow and build relationships and to be a force for change and to make a difference in the world. And now it seems like you're starting to do that.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Does it feel like you're finally working from your why?
Yeah. It still feels slow going, I think, but that's just me still having to heal, stuff about not feeling worthy, or, all of those things that so many of us are kind of brought up with. So.
Oh yeah, I can totally relate to that. But that's the beautiful thing too, because that's the foundation you build, and it's so strong because it may be a slow build at first, but it's going to keep consistently growing, and you're making a conscious effort to do work on yourself before you bring your teachings into the world. And not a lot of people do that. So that's really a testament to your character and your integrity and your core values as well.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. This is amazing. And you have so many quotables. The last thing that I know you said was that you feel like you're friends. You're making friends and you're helping
Yeah.
people. And that's
Yeah.
kind of how you change the world.
Yeah. Your approach has really taught me to look at not just business, but life differently, because I'm being an introvert. It's sort of like, connecting to a lot of different people has not been easy for me, but and I'm still learning, but it feels more natural now, I would say.
Yeah. And that's so amazing. It's kind of bringing offline, online today.
Yeah.
Awesome. Joanne, thank you for taking time to chat with me today about your journey. This is amazing, and you're doing amazing.
Well, thank you. And thank you for all your support and your love. And just thank you.